What's up guys, and welcome back to Counter Steer Garage. Today I'm gonna show you the wrong way to replace spark plugs on an FRS BRZ Toyota 86. So you might be wondering, what kind of how-to shows you the wrong way to do something? Well, I've already shown you guys the right way to do it, and here's how it was received. So in the infinite wisdom of Facebookers and trolls, today we're gonna do it your way. The main difference between you and me when doing this job, besides my decades of dealership and racing experience, are the fact that I'm gonna be using quick jacks because I'm spoiled. Same rules apply as last time. Cars on the ground, work has not been started. I did go ahead and remove my strut bar because I think it's gonna get in the way. And if you don't have one, I don't want that taking extra time in the video and having some internet trolls complain. So I removed the strut bar. That's the only work I've done so far. So tools you're gonna need: long breaker bar and a 14mm. You can substitute, if you have an impact wrench, you could substitute that for the breaker bar. You'll need, on a 3/8 drive, you'll need a 10, a 12, and a 14, 3-inch extension, and the 3/8 ratchet. On the 1/4-inch side, you're gonna need a deep 10 and a shallow 10. You can use just a shallow 10 with a small extension, but the deep 10 makes it a little bit easier. Magnet, don't do this job without a magnet. You're also gonna need a jack and a block. The block of wood really just helps isolate the engine from the jack so the jack doesn't crush the oil pan. You're also gonna need jack stands for all 4 corners. So you're gonna need 4 jack stands. I used quick jacks to lift the car, so I didn't use jack stands. So let's get this thing up in the air. So I'm about 50 seconds in right now. It might take you probably about 10 minutes to jack one side and then lay it on jack stands, and then jack the other side and then lay it on jack stands. But it's still not gonna help this job go faster than my way. Sorry guys, it's not. Okay, under the car, first thing we need to remove is the skid plate, which has, I think, something like 400 bolts. You're gonna need a 10 and a 12, little extension. Apparently this only takes a minute to do. Let's see. So all 4 10s are out. Those hold the skid plate to this felt piece in the back. Now we're gonna remove 100 or so 12s. This is already a pain in the ass, in case anybody was wondering. Skid plate's off. Let's do a quick time check. So we're about 7 minutes in. If you watched the last video, you know I was already at the point of taking out the spark plugs at this point. But hey, we're doing it your way. You're gonna need a 14mm to undo the motor mounts. Now the motor mounts, if we're underneath the car here, in these pockets, you'll find the motor mount bolts. So there's one there, and there's one over here. 2 motor mounts, and then we're gonna lift the engine. So you're probably gonna need an extra large ratchet or a breaker bar. And you might be wondering, don't you have impact tools? And yes, I do, but I'm not using them because not everybody does. And I wanna show this in a genuine way for most people. Okay. Okay, that's 1 motor mount bolt out. Birds are noisy. Breaker bar. So at this point, the engine is unbolted from the car. So we've got our jack and our piece of wood. The wood really just softens and distributes the weight better instead of just jacking straight up on the engine. Okay, so the first issue we're having is that also the intake gets in the way. So that's another piece that we have to remove. And we're at a little over 16 minutes now, and now we're stuck removing just another piece. This is ridiculous, guys. Okay, intake tube is removed from the engine. Let's continue. We've got the engine raised as high as it will go because it hits here. So this is as high as the engine's gonna go without removing more stuff. So I guess we'll do the same as last time. We'll eat the frog, we'll start on the driver's side. We're now just starting to remove coil bolts. And the time check is 23 minutes. We haven't even touched the spark plug yet. So we are finally ready to start removing the coils. So we're gonna use a 10mm. It appears that maybe we don't have to remove this cover now because we've got a little bit more space, but I'd so much rather remove this one cover, 2 bolts on this one cover, than the 30 or so bolts that we've already undone, the intake and all that. I'm not sold on this process. In case you guys are wondering, this doesn't give you any additional space. It's still just as tight in here as it would have been. I mean, maybe we can see it better, but it's still just as tight as it was before. Both coil bolts are out. Whoop. Drop the coil. Both coils finally out. So I am using now a 3-inch extension and a 1-inch extension together because with the angle that we're at, it makes it harder to get in there with the single 3-inch. Now we are twisting by hand. Now you'll see if you're doing the whole assembly, it still gets stuck. So you still have to do the one piece at a time trick. So we gotta separate the socket from the extension to be able to pull it out one piece at a time. Time to fish out the spark plug. One out, and this is, I'm actually due this time. We got about 100,000. I changed them at 50, so we're changing them again. Ooh, they look healthy, but it's time. Spark plug number 2. Again, kind of gross looking. Okay, we are at the point where 2 spark plugs are officially out. Let's do a time check. 36 minutes. So it takes twice as long to do 2 spark plugs. I'm hoping that maybe the passenger side is easier and we catch up a little bit, but it's really not looking good for your method, guys. Here we are on the passenger side. We do still have to remove the injector driver. I need a shorty 10 for this one. Now, injector driver, we can push back out of the way. So with the injector driver out, we can see the coils now, and it's time to remove the coil bolts. If anything, this made it harder, because now we're closer to the fuse box. Guys, this is ridiculous. So the coil bolts are both cracked loose, so now I'm just unthreading them by hand. There's 1, there's 2. Coils are out, spark plugs now. Hey, there's 1. Almost there. Okay, all 4 spark plugs are out. So we are officially halfway done with the job. But we're officially 52 minutes into this thing. What are you guys doing? So now it's time to install brand new spark plugs. When I did this video last, I had not done new plugs, so that's why we're doing this again after a year. So just like last time, 1 piece at a time, spark plug goes in the hole. Whee! Socket assembly, and we're going to twist that all the way in, get it so it's hand snug, and then tighten it down. Both plugs are hand tight, so now we're just gonna crank them down. I got a question on the last video about torque specs. I mean, you can torque them if you could fit a torque wrench in here, but it's similar to like a drain plug, like an oil drain plug. You just kind of give it a little, you could feel the crush washer kind of crush, and you feel when it stops crushing. And that's where you kind of want to, right about there. If your hand isn't like perfectly calibrated to this sort of thing, you might want to use a torque wrench. But if you do this enough, you kind of get the feel for it. So that's the front one down. We're going to tighten the back one now. Spark plugs are tight. We will now put the coils in. Okay, coil bolts hand tight. Now we just got to crank them down. So coils are both bolted in. We're just going to reinstall the injector driver, and we're done with the passenger side at least. Now these two top bolts are the easy ones to get to, but the bottom one is the most important. This grounds the injector driver, and the car won't run without it. Okay, they're hand tight. Now we got to just give them a little snug. Again, bottom one, the most important bolt because it's also the ground. So make sure if you drop it, make sure you pick it up. And make sure you tighten it. So that's it for the passenger side. We just have the two spark plugs on the driver's side to go. We are at 1 hour and 3 minutes. Let's move it. Let's move over there. Onto the driver's side now. Got a nice new spark plug. Gonna chuck it right into the hole there. Throw our socket assembly in there and twist. Second spark plug into the hole. Socket assembly and twist. Time to snug them down. Plugs are snugged. Time to do some coils. Front coil in, back coil in. Time to tighten them down. Now, coil electrical connectors. And we're done. Oh wait, no. We still have to put the intake on, bolt in the engine, and do the skid plate. Time check. 1 hour and 16 minutes. Okay, so now we gotta lower the engine down. It should land right back in its holes because we didn't undo or loosen the transmission mount, but I guess we'll see. Do this nice and slow. So easy, it takes 5 minutes. Fucking assholes. So before we get underneath and put everything back together into there, I'm just gonna throw the intake back together. We are back underneath the car. I'm gonna bolt up the engine mounts. And then on to the next one. Now it's the skid plate's turn. And we're done. Well, we still gotta lower the car, which is something that is quick for me, but it won't be for you. let's do one final time check because we are officially completed. So that's an hour and 40 minutes. It's quicker than I was expecting, but longer than it needs to be. Click right here to see the correct way to do spark plugs on a Toyota 86. If this video helped you, click the little orange wheel to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next Taco Tuesday.